Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Look, if you're feeling the sheer exhaustion and just absolute burnout of modern hustle culture, you are in exactly the right place today. We're going to completely flip how you approach your goals. We're looking at this amazing blend of high-level coaching wisdom, Stoic philosophy, and modern strategy. And what it reveals is a pretty profound truth. The secret to getting what you want isn't about moving faster. It's about moving the right way.
Let's start by grounding this in something super tangible with a quote from strength and conditioning coach Lauren Landau. He says, joint position equals muscle function. Now, he's talking about elite athletes here, but honestly, he might as well be talking about all of us. Before you can move well, you've got to be aligned. Before you can generate speed, you need rhythm. And before rhythm, you need form.
Think about what that really means for you on a day-to-day basis. How you hold yourself literally dictates what you're capable of. So this isn't just a fitness principle, it's this massive sweeping philosophy of life. Because this physical metaphor, it translates perfectly to our intellectual, emotional, mental, and spiritual posture too. If your posture is off in any of those areas, I don't care how much raw effort you put in, you're not going to save yourself from injury or burnout. So, to really master this life posture, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to decode 5 key things: alignment before action, direction over raw effort, taming ego and reactivity, the secret of teachability, and finally, the engine of becoming. Let's get right into it.
Starting with Section 1, Alignment Before Action, Building the Fundamentals.
You know, we're constantly bombarded with the idea that speed is everything. Go faster, fail faster, act faster. But speed without alignment, that's just a recipe for a crash. Take Lauren Landau's physical fundamentals. The absolute standout idea here is that fundamentals are never mastered. Mastering the basics isn't some finish line you cross and then forget about. It's a daily practice. Whether you're an athlete or a CEO, you don't just arrive at alignment, you have to maintain it. Ignore your posture just to go fast, and you will, without a doubt, get hurt.
Moving right along to Section 2, Direction over Raw Effort, Seeing the Race Course.
Okay, so this is about our intellectual posture. We have all fallen into the trap of just trying harder when things aren't clicking, right? We just grind away, assuming the resistance we're feeling is just a lack of willpower. But Seth Godin has this brilliant counter to that. He says, going faster is useless if you're running in the wrong direction. So I got to ask you directly, are you running incredibly fast, but totally in the wrong direction? Effort alone is not going to give you the life you want if your compass is broken. Strategy is about having that awareness before you even take a step.
Just picture this. On one hand, you've got this exhausting hustle mindset. It's like paddling relentlessly against the ocean, just fighting the current with everything you have. Contrast that with Godin's surfing metaphor. A great surfer doesn't just paddle harder than everyone else. She reads the water, she gets her posture right, there's that physical alignment again, and then she lets the wave do the heavy lifting. True, effective effort is entirely downstream of your awareness and your strategy.
Which brings us to Section 3, Taming Ego and Reactivity, our emotional posture.
Because look, you could have the absolute perfect strategy and your fundamentals completely dialed in, but pure reactivity will instantly destroy the alignment we just spent so much time building. Let this image from Cato the Elder really sink in for a second. An angry man opens his mouth and shuts his eyes. Wow, anger is this massive exaggerator. It makes bad situations seem infinitely worse, and it literally blinds you to the reality of the present moment. That just leads to impulsive actions that make the whole thing 10 times worse.
So how do we actually fix that? Well, author Ryan Holiday has this super practical Stoic playbook for when you feel that reactivity bubbling up. Number 1, wait. Number 2, walk. Number 3, put a reminder down for tomorrow. And to be clear, this is not about stuffing your feelings down or ignoring reality. It's simply about buying yourself a little time to put you back in between the stimulus and your response. That little delay, that's where the wisdom is.
And this isn't some trendy New Age life hack either. Ancient wisdom has been saying this forever. Seneca was all about delaying to let cooler heads prevail. Zen master Anthony de Mello warned us that knowledge, when we just use it as armor, doesn't actually become wisdom. Real wisdom needs the messy, quiet soil of lived experience. And then Epictetus taught gratitude, because think about it, grief and anger usually come from the gap between what is and what we want. Pumping the brakes and finding gratitude completely interrupts that reactive loop and snaps your mind right back into the present.
All right, Section 4, The Secret of Teachability, or the Mental Posture.
This one really demands the quiet but totally crucial discipline of humility. Let's look at Jim Kwik's insight on memory. A lot of times we assume our brains are in a fixed state. Like, you either have a good memory or you have a bad one, and that's just the luck of the draw. But the truth, Memory is a system in process. It is trained or untrained. Actually, scratch that. You are a system in process. You aren't permanently smart or untalented in some final, unchanging way. Being teachable means totally rejecting that fixed state view of yourself.
And that kind of forces us to look at this famous Ralph Waldo Emerson quote in a whole new light. We usually think being yourself means being stubborn, right? Like putting up a wall and ignoring everyone else's input. But real self-reliance actually requires incredible humility. You have to really know yourself first, and then be willing to grow from the inside out, on your own terms, rather than just reacting out of a fear of judgment.
Finally, we hit section 5, the engine of becoming, our spiritual posture.
So we've mapped out the direction, the strategy, the ego, the mind, but what's actually driving the car here? What is the fuel for all this motion? It comes down to the quality of your energy. Both fear and love can make you work hard. On the outside, it might look exactly the same, but the internal experience, totally different. If you're driven by the fear of failing, you're in this exhausting, permanent battle. But if your discipline comes from a genuine love for the craft itself, or that joyful, exuberant anticipation that G.K. Chesterton talked about, you totally break the gravitational pull of those negative habits. You literally have to design a life you're excited to wake up for.
Okay, so when we put this whole puzzle together, it is a massive aha moment. Just look at how direction, ego management, and teachability, they all funnel straight into that center hub, your motivation. Every single thing passes through that filter. And depending on whether your tank is filled with fear or love or joy, it drops right down into the ultimate goal, the becoming.
And this maps absolutely perfectly onto Steven Pressfield's concept of the hero's journey. The filmmaker John Borman hit the nail on the head when he said, "Passion is not an emotion. It is the becoming of a person." Those dark forests, the massive hurdles, the days where everything goes wrong, they aren't roadblocks. They're essential. Without that darkness, we'd never see the light. You don't just arrive at the finish line unchanged. The journey itself is the transformation.
So I want to leave you with this one final challenge today, inspired by the mystic Osho. Stop moving the way fear makes you move. Really take a hard look at the motivation driving your own personal hero's journey right now. What is the actual quality of the energy behind your effort? And ultimately, what are you becoming?